Our next project is going to be Gnomes in the Garden, and we are using a Gnome die from Accuquilt, and then along with the Gnome die we're going to be using the Funky Flowers die, the 1.5 inch square finish die, and 1.5 square half-square triangle die. And so the fabrics we chose for our cute Gnomes in the Garden is a medley of basics from all of my favorite companies. So the first step we're going to do is cut our project. I'm going to get the pieces ready to run through the Accuquilt. Alright, so we have all our pieces cut for our Gnomes in the Garden project, and we're ready to die cut them. These are going to be the half square triangles. So they are 1.5 inch finished half square triangles. So when I cut the shapes, I stack them on the correct die so that when I get over to the machine, I'm ready to cut. These are going to be 1.5 inch strips, which is a much bigger die. So we'll set that to do at the end. These are for the 4 to 1.5 inch finished squares. This is for the daisies. For these, I've gone ahead and put fusible web on the back of my shapes, my fabrics, so that when I die cut them, they're already done with the fusible web. So these are all stacked up, ready to cut. And then the last is the star of the show. This is the little gnome die. So we've got his shirts and his hat, his beards, the little itty bitty shoes, and these super tiny little nose. So these are ready to cut. You can do up to 6 layers comfortably. So these actually are stacked and ready to go as is. So I can just run this guy through. Now we're doing 5 gnomes, but each gnome has 2 pairs of shoes. So I'll have to run through another stack for the shoes. So once you get to this point, it is very quick to get this cut and ready to go. So let's get started. Okay, so just like that, I have all of my little shirts, and I have all my hats, my beards. You can see just how accurate and clean those cuts are. There are my little noses. And the first 5 shoes. So I don't want to lose any of my little pieces, so I have a serving tray I use, and I will put all my pieces as I cut them on here so that I don't lose anything. Now, another way you could cut these is you could take this fabric and this fabric, because they are going to be the triangles you sew together. You can lay them right sides together and cut them, and then when they come out, they're already stacked and ready to sew. Probably should have done that for the first stack. Alright, these are ready to go. So with these, what I'll do is I'll just take a square ruler. Oops. And I'm just gonna stack them up. Alright, so those are ready, and then we're going to cut the rest of these. But I'm thinking these 2 blues are too close, so I'm going to pull out a darker blue. So you will see that changed in the video. Alright, so we have everything cut and ready to go for our Gnomes in the Garden. We have our gnome pieces, our flowers, our strips for strip piecing, and some squares. And then the last thing is we had to cut the backgrounds for the gnomes. So now that we got everything cut, we will get started assembling. So the first step in doing our Gnomes in the Garden is we're going to take our background sky pieces and our background grass pieces, and we're going to just sew the one to the other, and then we'll have our backgrounds for our gnomes and our flowers. Okay, so the first step is we're going to build our little gnomes, and I'm working on an Appli-Fuse Mat here, and we're going to build the gnome on here, and anywhere the fusible sticks to the mat you can peel it off, and anywhere it sticks to the fabric it'll stay bond together. And I like to build the things on the mat and then take the finished piece and center it onto my background. For each gnome we need 2 shoes, a nose, a beard, a shirt, and a hat. And this guy gets a purple hat. So there's doing a purple, purple. This purple one gets a green hat, and this purple one gets a blue hat. Alright, so to assemble this guy, this mat has a little bit of a texture grip to it, so it's going to hold my pieces in place before I iron them, so I don't have to worry about them sliding. It's one of the benefits to this mat. So first I'm going to start with the bottommost piece, which are his shoes. And I'm going to refer to the photo to position them. There's a little space between them. And it's kind of nice, this has like a grid texture. You can use that to help you align your pieces. So I want both of these guys even because they're his feet. And we take this shirt, position that over his feet. Now we're going to take the beard and in the picture these first hair tufts are above the shirt, so that helps me know how high up this should go. Then he gets his hat. And a nose. And there's our little gnome. So then once you have all your pieces in place, iron it following the manufacturer's directions for whichever fusible you're using. And then I usually let it cool for a few seconds before I start peeling it off, so that 1, I don't touch the hot mat, and 2, I don't pull it up and the fusible's still glue-like. Alright, so once you're ready, you start with the lowest level. This is his shoes, and peel him up that way. And there he is. There's our little gnome. Alright, so here are all 5 of our little gnomes. These 3 need to be pressed. Those 2 are done. So we're just going to press these guys together. Alright, so for the flowers, I'm going to build them right on the background because I want to make sure that I don't make them too tall, that they're too big for the background. Alright, there's our little pink flowers. So, next up is the gnomes. Let's get those guys down on their backgrounds. So now we're going to go over to the sewing machine and we're going to blanket stitch the edges on all of these with matching thread, and then we'll be ready to start putting the quilt together. We have our little gnomes all stitched, and these blocks are done, and then the little flower blocks are all stitched and done. So now what we need to do is make the checkerboard sashing that goes between all the blocks, and to do that we're going to do strip piecing. So let me get the strip set sewn and then I'll show you how we cut them. So now we have our strip set sewn. This is going to be our sides, and that's the top and bottom. Like that. And like that. And then we'll throw one of these in the corner. So first I gotta cut all of these. We're going to take, for the first row, and that's our sashing. So we need to make 4 of these and then 3 of these with the assorted blocks, and then we can sew the rows together to make the quilt top. So here is our little quilt top all put together. Now we need to do the borders. The first border is a straight blue border. And the second border is made up of half square triangles. So these have all been die cut from the 1.5 inch die. I layered them up and I'm going to sew them together, and they will make our little half square triangles that we'll sew together for the pieced border. So I'm going to add those and we'll be back. So here is our little Gnomes in the Garden quilt back from the quilter. So the whole thing is now finished. Monica Crone quilted this one, and she mimicked the swirls in the fabric. You can get in there really close, you can see it. And she just went around the gnomes and the flowers just so that they would pop. So this was a really fun and easy quilt to do. I used Accuquilt dies for the gnome, the half square triangles, and the checkerboard border. The free pattern is available at Accuquilt.com. The dies are available at Accuquilt.com. I'll put the links below in the video tutorial. This is the end of it. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please leave your comments below and make sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, make sure you like and subscribe below. You can find the Whimsical Workshop on our website, thewhimsicalworkshop.com, and that has all links to all of our other social media platforms. Thanks for joining us.